Chapter 659 to 661. Boom, boom, boom. Rumble. Burning fire and corrosive mist crashed against each other and generated a shockwave all around the volcano amidst the explosive and rumbling sounds. These shockwaves, when paired with the pandemonium and noise, exacerbated the situation. The mayhem was caused by two complete-body Susanoo, one wooden golem almost as tall as the golden Susanoo, and the newly added Yamata no Orochi form of Orochimaru with 8 heads. The 4 huge existences battled together while being squeezed inside the little volcano. It's easy to visualize the chaos inside the volcanic cave. The structure of the volcano has long been destroyed by such catastrophe. Cracks are heaped on top of each other on the volcano's walls, forming cracked cobwebs. The entire volcano would have crumbled long ago if it hadn't been for Shodaime Hokage's tree vines. Shodaime expended a great deal of effort and chakra to prevent the volcano from collapsing because he was aware of the presence of over 1,500 shinobi outside the volcano. And he understood that if the volcano collapsed, those 1,500 shinobi would all perish instantly, which he cannot allow as the Shodaime Hokage. Even Hashirama's tree vines couldn't keep tons of rocks and boulders from tumbling into the magma pool and spilling all over the region. Even in the midst of confusion, the furious struggle continued. While Shodaime and Homusubi had captured the majority of Danzo's focus, Yamata no Orochimaru's unexpected attack caught Danzo off guard and tipped the battle's balance. In some ways, Orochimaru's the 8-headed serpent's art can be considered a very powerful ninjutsu, because as long as Orochimaru's chakra isn't depleted, the Yamata no Orochi form of Orochimaru has enough raw power and means to fight even low-tier or mid-tier tailed beasts, which isn't a joke. Another significant benefit of this jutsu is that it promotes constant regeneration, and Orochimaru's regeneration ability in the Yamata no Orochi form is a godsend against Danzo, as it allows him to resist Danzo's bloody red mist. Danzo's attention has already been diverted due to his involvement in a struggle with both Shodaime and Homusubi. Even when Orochimaru wasn't present, Danzo was having trouble keeping up with both Homusubi and Shodaime, half of whose attention was focused on preventing the volcano's collapse. And when Orochimaru, who can resist the effect of decay of bloody red mist, joined the fray, the battle's balance was immediately shifted. Danzo was at a severe disadvantage and was quickly suppressed. As a result, even the tree vines he fashioned to hold Homusubi in place didn't last long. Danzo's wood style is obviously not as powerful as Shodaime Hokage's wood style, and if Danzo's tree vines have the ability to absorb the chakra of their target, then even Homusubi's golden flames have the ability to burn down all the chakra that they come into contact with, so the wood style was never able to gain any significant advantage over Homusubi to begin with. As a result, when Oshihimimi's golden flames began to flare up, Homusubi's figure, like the goddess of war, became increasingly dominant over all beings. Danzo became increasingly enraged as his Susanoo failed to provide any advantage against the joint suppression of 3 enormous monsters, and even the tree vines he formed were rendered worthless, and he screamed wildly, "Damn it, damn it, damn it! Why are you all trying to stop me?" Danzo received no response from any of the 3. In reality, even if they were suppressing him unilaterally, none of the 3 of them showed any signs of triumph on their faces, and they dared not relax their vigilance. While it is true that they were able to subdue Danzo, the reality that they were only able to do so because they collaborated is indisputable. Danzo's strength has surpassed all expectations and soared to such heights that even Shodaime Hokage was taken aback. If Hashirama is being honest, Danzo is without a doubt the second most powerful foe he has ever faced, the first being undoubtedly Madara. But, with Madara falling in front of him, how can Danzo stay standing? Crack! The dark crimson Susanoo of Danzo finally shattered with a sharp sound beneath the combined attack of Shodaime's wooden golem and Yamata no Orochi. Danzo was taken aback when his Susanoo break, and he had a puzzled expression on his face. Nidaime, who had been hiding in the shadows and waiting for the right moment to appear up until now, made his move and blasted a piercing water jet at Danzo. "This is the end, Danzo." "Water style, severing wave, slash." "Sensei!" Danzo tried to turn around and look at Tobirama, but it was too late. Under the high pressure of the water jet, Danzo's body was instantly cut into two halves. Puff. Blood splashed. Whoosh. Susanoo disappeared instantly. Thump. And he fell on the broken rock pieces of the volcano. Dead. Finally. Danzo was killed. The powerful body that was implanted with Hashirama cells and survived the Kekkei Genkai absorption jutsu finally fell under the surprise attack of Nidaime Hokage. Orochimaru appeared out of one of the snakeheads of Yamato no Orochi and muttered with a smile, "Finally, it's over for him." When Orochimaru noticed that Danzo had been slashed in half by Tobirama's assault and had died as a result, he smirked and looked at the body with ravenous eyes. He has only one thought racing through his head at the moment. It is finally time. As soon as Shodaime, Nidaime, and Homusubi were able to react, Orochimaru's body transformed into a gigantic white snake that rushed toward the remains of Danzo's body. All of this is being done with the goal of obtaining the greatest number of benefits, beating Homusubi to it, and emerging from this experiment as the sole winner. By benefits, he refers to either the pair of eternal Mangekyu Sharingan in the eye sockets of Danzo's corpse or Danzo's corpse itself, which is extremely valuable due to the fact that Danzo's corpse has survived the Kekkei Genkai absorption ritual. Awakening the attention of Hashirama, Tobirama, and Homusubi was Orochimaru's unexpected act. Tobirama shook his head and whispered, "I knew it. From the very beginning," and prepared to employ flying Raijin to halt Orochimaru from achieving his goals. However, it appeared to be too late. Orochimaru did not forget to weave specific hand signs while rushing at Danzo's corpse, and as he did so, he exclaimed mockingly, "Yes, but it's too late." Rat, ox, monkey, tiger, dragon, boar, release! Just as Shodaime and Nidaime were about to take action and stop Orochimaru, their bodies were stopped in midair, seemingly out of nowhere. And then, before either of them had a chance to react, their bodies began to deteriorate and disintegrate into white paper strips as their souls were finally liberated from the confines of their impure vessels. "There you have it!" Orochimaru exclaimed with satisfaction. "I've released the two of you. You can go and rest in the Pure Land. If I ever need your assistance again, I'll summon the two of you. But I doubt it would be necessary, given that I'm about to obtain the best body for me." In all likelihood, the hand signs weaved by Orochimaru were intended to free the Edo Tensei of both past Hokage so that Shodaime and Nidaime wouldn't be able to prevent him from obtaining Danzo's body for himself. When Homusubi noticed Orochimaru's deeds, she became alarmed and alerted Orochimaru, "You idiot! Don't!" As he approached Danzo, Orochimaru ignored Homusubi's warning and instead exclaimed, "Homusubi, this time it's my win," as the two of them exchanged a fleeting glance. His attention was soon drawn away from what Homusubi was saying and the reason for her attempted interruption, and returned to Danzo's corpse. In the knowledge of everything that Danzo could accomplish with his developed form, Orochimaru's desire for the evolved body of his adversary had already reached its zenith. According to Orochimaru, Danzo was able to go toe-to-toe with Shodaime and Homusubi, which was significant in itself, and the fact that he was able to force all four powerhouses present inside the volcano to unite against him demonstrated just how great the potential of his body had been after undergoing the Kekkei Genkai absorption ritual was even more significant. And perhaps most importantly, Danzo's state of mind during the combat was not optimal. He was fighting instinctively, and he had not yet become acquainted with his newly evolved body. Despite all of these obstacles, Danzo was able to demonstrate such raw power and strength. This only serves to demonstrate how great his body's potential was and continues to be. Consider the possibility that none of these issues were present and that Danzo had a prior opportunity to become acclimated to his newly developed body. In a different scenario, the context and conclusion of this combat would have been radically different, and it is possible that the four of them would have been on the losing end instead of Danzo. Indeed, it would not be incorrect to speculate that the four of them may have perished in place of Danzo in the first place. Fortunately, Lady Luck was on Orochimaru's side this time, and everything worked out wonderfully for him, and thus we find ourselves in this position. In the face of these possibilities and expectations, Orochimaru grew increasingly eager for Danzo's body, racing at him at top speed. Even while their souls were outside of their Edo Tensei bodies, Shodaime and Nidaime's expressions were filled with concern as they observed their plight. They were able to detect that something wasn't quite right with Danzo's corpse for some reason. The two of them were somewhat familiar with these circumstances, but they were unable to pinpoint the specific problem they were experiencing. Taking a deep breath, Hashirama said, "Let us leave the difficulties of this generation to the shinobi of this generation. The lesser the amount we interfere in their affairs, the better it is for everyone." A sigh could be heard from Tobirama as well, who agreed with his elder brother's words. As a result, the two former Hokage departed the stage. It's a shame that Orochimaru was so preoccupied with Danzo's corpse that he failed to notice the expressions of concern on the faces of the two former Hokage as their souls left for the Pure Land. On the other hand, if you think about it, even if Orochimaru had noticed it, it's possible that he wouldn't have cared much about it because their anxiety and the reasons for it didn't matter to him all that much. As a result, he couldn't care less about what the other Hokage were attempting to say. The only thing on his mind at the moment is Danzo's corpse, which he intends to take possession of as soon as possible. The closer he got to the target, the more clearly Orochimaru was able to see a pair of scarlet-colored eyes, which made him even more ravenous, to the point where he couldn't stop himself from shouting, "That pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, it's mine. That perfect body, it's mine. They're all mine." Whoosh! Orochimaru charged ahead and jumped towards Danzo's body, which was just a few steps away, making a harsh air-cutting sound in the process. He laughed and dived ahead to get a hold of Danzo's body. Poof! Bang! Crash! But for some reason, Orochimaru didn't understand. Instead of grabbing Danzo's body, he caught nothing in his grasp and fell into the rocks ahead. He glanced at his empty hands, perplexed, and questioned, "What the hell happened?" Orochimaru was baffled as to what had happened. All the delight and excitement on his face faded as he stared at his empty palms, leaving him with feelings of loss, incredulity, and perplexity. Orochimaru, startled, twisted his head mechanically and gazed toward the location where Danzo's body was supposed to be. But it was the fact that the body that had been lying there only a few seconds before had vanished into thin air, as if it had been a trick of the light. "Was it only a genjutsu?" he questioned. "But I'm certain Nidaime Hokage-sama killed him. How can it be a genjutsu?" It was an odd thing to behold, and no explanation. And if Orochimaru appeared dazed and bewildered, Homusubi, on the other hand, appeared to be completely awake. At the same moment, she noticed Danzo's corpse vanish into thin air. She spun abruptly around and with great control made a sharp slash with the golden sword of her Susanoo. The golden sword slashed through the air, carving vast ravines into the earth. As a result of the ravines extending towards the magma pool not far away, magma began to flow through them and rise to the surface of the earth. Ah! As the magma began to pour in, a heavy and agonizing scream could be heard, which attracted the attention of Homusubi and Orochimaru. Increasingly perplexed, Orochimaru said, his mouth agape, "How is this even possible? Hasn't Danzo already passed away?" Obviously, as everyone has probably figured by now, Danzo was the one who let out this agonizing scream. However, as Orochimaru pointed out, Danzo should have been dead by now. Consequently, the question is, if Danzo was already dead, how is he still alive and able to cry out in agony? To answer your question, Danzo was undoubtedly murdered by Tobirama's water-style ninjutsu, but the fact is that Danzo has mastered Uchiha's banned genjutsu Izanagi. Izanagi is a forbidden jutsu that has the ability to change the fate of the caster. Danzo, who has mastered this forbidden jutsu, instinctively used it when he sensed the approaching danger of death to change the fate of his death at the cost of one of the Sharingan implanted in his body, and as a result, he was saved from dying. Uchiha Madara was able to deceive both Shodaime and Nidaime utilizing Izanagi, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that Orochimaru was also duped in this instance as well. In terms of the suspicions that Hashirama and Tobirama harbored until recently, it is due to the fact that Danzo's mastery over Izanagi is not as perfect as Madara's, and that the two of them are already dead, and as such, they understand the state of death better than any living shinobi around, and as a result, they were able to sense that something was wrong with Danzo's death. However, the actual cause for this was not known to them at the time, therefore. However, Homusubi was well aware of the actual nature of the crisis, and she attempted to alert Orochimaru to it, but the fool utterly disregarded her. In fact, not only did hers, Orochimaru utterly disregards the warnings of both former Hokages as well. The fool didn't give Homusubi a chance to explain that Danzo wasn't dead yet, and instead released the souls of both former Hokages of their Edo Tensei bodies. Because of this action of Orochimaru, the two Hokages who could have been a great help in the fight against Danzo were no longer helpful. It was only now that Orochimaru realized that something weird was taking place. When Orochimaru watched how Homusubi suddenly slashed behind her, he recognized that Homusubi appeared to be aware of the situation and couldn't help but question her, with a blank expression, "What's going on?" With each passing inquiry, Homusubi's rage became more. Tick marks emerged on her forehead and she exclaimed, "You fool!" in frustration. "Can't you keep your greed under control for a change and use your intellect? You're a snake, aren't you? Then act like one for God's sake." Orochimaru remained deafeningly quiet. In spite of the fact that he was embarrassed, he chose to swallow the insult and wait for Homusubi to explain the issue to him. As Homusubi sighed, she explained, "This is the outcome when Izanagi is used." "Izanagi?" When Orochimaru spoke, he had a thoughtful expression on his face. "I seem to recall reading this word on one of the scrolls while I was secretly sneaked into Konoha's forbidden archives. But, as far as I recall, there was no explanation about it on that scroll." "What is Izanagi?" he wondered. "Can you tell me what Izanagi is?" he asked. It is not surprising that the restricted archives of Konoha included a scroll on Izanagi, but it is unfortunate that the scroll has no information about the jutsu. It's extremely likely that the information contained on the scroll has been tampered with by someone. That someone may be anyone. It could be someone from the Uchiha clan. It could be Danzo himself. It could be Black Zetsu. It could be anyone. But the point is, the scroll was tempered. Well, whoever it was, he or she did an excellent job, and the information that should have been stored in that scroll is no longer there within it. And because Orochimaru betrayed Konoha so early in the game, he didn't have the opportunity to learn about it from Danzo's mouth either, which was unfortunate. Homusubi is also aware of this truth, and as a result, she provided Orochimaru with a brief explanation of the ins and outs of Izanagi. "How many Sharingan do you think Danzo has on his body?" she inquired after giving a brief summary of the situation. And Orochimaru responded promptly, 9, with a matching set of eternal Mangekyu Sharingan glinting in his eyes. Prior to the ceremony, Danzo had a total of 8 Sharingan on his body, with 1 in his eyes and the other 7 in his arm. During the ritual, his other eye was also converted into a Sharingan, bringing the total number of Sharingans on his body to 9. "It means that Danzo has a total of 10 lives," stated Homusubi, who rebuked Orochimaru fiercely. "Only one of his 10 lives was finished," she added. "And you lost yourself to your avarice, seeing that not only did you disrupt the battlefield's flow, but you also undid the Edo Tensei of both the Shodaime Hokage and the Nidaime Hokage, even if Danzo wasn't actually defeated at the time. Danzo still has 9 lives left despite the fact that the two of them are no longer present. And I have my doubts about your ability to summon them again?" Orochimaru narrowed his eyes as he heard Homusubi say those words. Homusubi shrugged her head, completely ignoring Orochimaru's expression. Homusubi couldn't care less about the ideas that were racing through Orochimaru's head at the time, because her attention was diverted wholly elsewhere at the time. Homusubi was able to detect Danzo's usage of Izanagi and his concealed appearance behind her at the time, which is why she was able to instantly react and deliver a sharp slash in the appropriate manner. The reason behind this is her pair of Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. It's almost as though both pairs of Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan are connected to one another, which explains why she can foresee where Danzo will appear with the use of her pair of Sharingan. It is not incorrect to state that her pair, as well as Danzo's pair, have both far beyond the level of Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan at this time. A strong hostility between the two couples appears to exist at the same time, as evidenced by the fact that they loathe one another. Because both sets of eyes appear to have some sense of reasoning, they appear to grasp that only one of them has the potential to evolve any further. Which is why they both appear to harbor animosity toward one another, and clearly, as their users, Homusubi and Danzo, are both adversely affected by their animosity toward one another. This explains why Homusubi was able to detect the presence of Danzo, who was attempting to sneak up on her from behind and launched a counterattack of her down on him.